Welcome CNG 124 to Monday afternoon, 3:24 p.m. Let's see. I just finished the grading for, I believe it was Lab 8. I still got to go back and do, Lab 8, Wireshark. Still got to jump back and do Lab 7 and do the other labs, of course, also. But as we saw with Lab 8, it's kind of an introduction to Lab 10 where we start to get these processes that are very, very long and require a lot of detail and reading. When we look at Lab 8, I saw a few comments that were, what was one comment? I forget what one comment was. It was difficult. I didn't quite understand what the lab was asking. Make sure, this is not a rush to get to the end. This is very like some of the labs that we're going to look at starting this week and next are going to be steps that list ways to do things, but also they're going to have questions integrated in it. I did see one error with Lab 8. I thought I fixed it, but I guess it's still in there. But if you look at the sections where it says 3, then has the subsection A, B, C, D, I did my best to outline questions in bold so that was more visible, but there were still items that were missed. So make sure that you're going back, looking at those items. I left feedback for every single person. So make sure you go back through, read that feedback. I'm trying to think about all the scores. If you came close, I still gave you credit, but no one turning in homework had responses that didn't say, okay, make sure you do this next time, or please follow this next time. Everybody had feedback that had to relate directly to the lab itself. But I'm glad that Lab 8 was difficult, and most of the discussions, subnetting is getting easier. That one makes it good because we're going to work on everything else as long as subnetting is getting easier per week. Lab 10 I haven't looked at, and as we get closer to today, I still got to make a few calls. Don't know if I'm going to get more grading done today, but make sure you read that feedback. And as I look on the actual my desktop, I see that on some it looks like it didn't go through. So I'll just double check those. Let's see. But good job so far. Very good job. Week 8. We have some light reading week 8. So make sure you go to Netacad and look at the network layer. Yeah, the network layer. Yeah, okay, I'm right. The network layer. Make sure you go out to Netacad, look at that network layer, kind of review the terms. Look at the homework video this week. And once again, we go into a build a switch network, which I provided the packet tracer file for you. So once again, when we get these labs that are 5, 7, I think there's a 15-page lab. Do yourself a favor and go out and get a colored pen, highlighter, a colored pencil, I have this Sharpie on my desk, but maybe invest in a fine tip Sharpie. With these large page labs, I saw one person do it, and I even complimented on it, and that was my feedback was, hey, I saw you started to do this. Make sure you continue to do it so that you're improving your chances of success. Simply take that pen. I'm going to use my pen off my Surface here. Where's that camera? Take your pen, cross out that first one, then move on. If you start leaving yourself some sort of code or developing some sort of code that means, hey, I'm at this step, and then making another sort of signal to yourself is telling you that I've completed this step. So maybe do like a circle indicating that you're on that step, and maybe a cross out indicating that you completed that step. Once you complete the steps, you should move on and be able to do the next step. I kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, make sure you're just developing a system, because these labs are going to get longer. We're going to see a 15-page lab here in a little bit. And if you don't have a process of how you're attacking the lab, you're definitely going to get, there's a chance that you might skip a step and actually hinder your ability to complete the lab as we go on. Let's see. Subnetting 4 is a takeaway from subnetting 3. I believe we have a few more subnetting, so make sure you're mastering this. I gave you feedback on all your practices that you turned in. So if you did get a feedback on the practices that said, hey, you should be taking a look at the bits and making sure you're counting correctly, really take that to heart and say, okay, what am I making a mistake on? Reach out to me on my desk phone. I'm usually available in the afternoons. Call, schedule some time. We can remote. I was going to say Skype, but basically we can WebEx. I can share my desktop with you. I can do it on this tablet so that you and I can create problems and go through. Last week we looked with A, B, and C. This week we do the same, A, B, and C. Once again, if you're starting to master this, keep doing your practices. That practice sheet's going to make it easy for you in the long run, and you're really going to start to grasp how you really start to grasp quicker on how to subnet or supernet a class A, B, or C network. Let's see. Next week starts Larimer spring break. I will be available. I kind of don't take a week off. I just kind of take it slower, just because if I did take a week off, it would neglect somebody. It would neglect people from Larimer and Boulder. If I took the next week off, which Westminster and Boulder have not next week, but the following week off. If I took that week off, I'd be neglecting Larimer. So I do take it slower in pace those 2 weeks. Might take me a little bit longer to get back, but once again, feel free to email my George Lemos at frontrange.edu. I do have that on all my devices, so I see that immediately. D2L, I only see D2L when I log into D2L. So it usually takes me just a little bit longer to turn around that email. Let's see. We talk about networking, the network layer. Make sure at the end of the slides to pay attention to so we looked at ARP last week. This week I forgot what we look at, but I believe it's traceroute. Make sure you're looking at ipconfig and know what ipconfig shows versus ipconfig all. What other notes? Yeah, slides. Take a look at what other commands are there. I forgot what at the end of the slides. There's specific commands that I show. There they are. Netstart-R and route print. Take a look at your routing table on your computer, and realize that's just on your computer, the routing table locally. The end of the labs are anatomy of a Cisco router. Once again, pay attention and analyze these. What is an OS? CPU, memory. Those are all parts of a computer, and all that the router does is think about where to send network traffic. It's a computer that just has one job. Definitely falls within that meme. You only had one job, because that's all our router does is pass network traffic. And of course, if it's failing it, that's the only job it has to do. Import layer 3 protocols, ipconfig, either singly or all, ping, and then trace route. Do an exercise today where you grab an IP from somewhere. If you like, I like Red Lobster, so I always use Red Lobster as an example. Look up Red Lobster's IP address and do traceroute and see, exactly how many routers you go through to get to Red Lobster. Great exercise. We kind of reached the cap, 10 minutes. I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer, but good job. Read those feedbacks, and I'll be grading more.